Good afternoon, everyone. Delegate Sean Hornbuckle here, Minority Leader of the House Democratic Caucus. Today is day 34 of this legislative session. Some would call it, we're on the back nine now. We're over the midway point. But yet and still, we are not focusing on priorities that are important to West Virginians. Just last week, it was another week of what we would call wasted time. What we did is the Republican supermajority, they were downstairs celebrating bills that once actually contained general inspection for our kids. That's what they were doing, wasting precious time in our legislature. They also pushed forth a bill that we were actually able to kill, that would put more money in politics. And as I said last week, there has been none of our constituents, I don't care what party you're in, that wants any more money in politics. It's just unfathomable that they're doing that right now. And last but not least, what they also tried to push last week is there was a bill that advanced that would allow for more toxins in our water. That would allow for more toxins in our water. And I find that very ironic that all of us know a lot of southern West Virginia has been flooded. And a lot of those people, they can't even clean their garments. They can't start the cleanup phase. They can't bathe because this is their water. This is their water, whether it's McDowell, Mingo, Wyoming, Logan, all across the southern coal fields, they do not have clean drinking water. It makes no sense at this day and age that West Virginians have to go through this. It was just back in December that we actually had the 50th anniversary of the Safe Drinking Water Act. It was passed in 1974 to make sure that no matter where you get your water source from, you're able to enjoy life. That's what we did, flying in the face of all of our folks back home. U.S. News ranks West Virginia 47th in drinking water. We cannot grow our population if we don't have these life essentials. And so again, that's what we're wasting time on. But as always, we're going to be the adults in the room, and we want to put forth good legislation that is going to be able to help cure these things. We are still focused on the priorities. Most of this session, my Democrat caucus right here, they've been going around the state, whether it's been Kanawha, Cabell, Raleigh, Morgantown, and have been listening to our constituents. We've been listening to our constituents, and there's been a theme here. Everything that's important. That's what we're pushing. We want to make sure, again, that your utility rates go down. That's wildly important to us. We want to make sure that no one has to go through this and we have clean drinking water. We are for child advocacy. Again, the important things that matter, kitchen table issues. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass it off to the Minority Whip, Sean Fluharty, to talk a little bit more about how we've been wasting time in this legislature.
Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. I want to go real quick. He mentioned we're 34 days in, so I want to go over some of the highlights, or shall I say lowlights, of the West Virginia legislature so far. 12 bills, 34 days, only 12 bills have completed the legislative process. Only 3 of those bills have been signed by the governor. Now, you saw the big signing for defining men and women. 2025, that's a signature piece of legislation by the governor as he took over, was to define men and women. So bravo, governor. Doesn't add a single job, doesn't raise a single dollar, doesn't do a damn thing for the state of West Virginia or help West Virginia families. Maybe on St. Patrick's Day we can find a pot of gold to raise $400 million that we need for this state, because we sure as hell aren't going to get it done through Republicans in the bills that they're passing in this legislature, because they've raised $0 to close that budget deficit. Meanwhile, what's been going on in the state? 165 coal mining jobs gone from the Trump tariffs. Not a single Republican has the guts to stand up to the federal government and say a word about it. Not a single Republican has the guts. West Virginia, one of only 4 states to lose jobs this January. So since the new president took over and our new governor took over, what did we get out of it? We've lost 4,000 jobs in January, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics that were released this week. 4,000 jobs. I don't see a ribbon cutting celebrating losing 4,000 jobs. I don't see the governor going down and holding a press conference about it. Because if they start talking about facts and evidence, you'll realize they can't govern. He just got done having a press conference about the NCAA tournament. Now look, I'm a WVU grad. Everybody knows how much I love basketball. You probably read about it in the press a few times. Well, guess what? I know we have real issues facing our state. And the governor's wasting time holding press conferences about the NCAA tournament. That's a slap in the face to every single West Virginian. So that's where we're at. Now, tomorrow, I want to show some highlights of what we have coming up on this big, bold agenda. Tomorrow, House Bill 2752. Anybody know what that is in the press room today? It's a bill related to riding a motorcycle while standing up. Now, I have a few things I can say about that, but you probably couldn't put on the local news tonight. But that goes to show you what this big, bold agenda is all about. And I appreciate everybody in this room for taking the time so we could update you on what's really going on. Because if we just listen to what they're talking about, they're gaslighting this state every single day. That's what they're doing. That's the only agenda that they've been successful at. Gaslighting this state. No relevance, no jobs, no revenue, no plan to govern. And we're 34 days in. So happy St. Patrick's Day. Let's find that pot of gold, because old Patrick downstairs isn't going to help the state. Maybe the fictional Patrick will deliver the pot of gold to us. So we're happy now to take any questions you may have before we turn it over to Delegate Hansen. So any questions from the press?
As far as the coal miners losing their jobs, we've heard about the Coal Renaissance Act resolution that they're doing in the Senate. Does that hold any weight? Will that improve lives for coal miners in the state?
Well, if you look at what happened with the coal mining jobs at Lear Mine, so it's directly impacted by the fact that the tariffs by the president, who put on a helmet and pretends we're still digging coal when we're not, and metallurgical coal builds steel. China says, you know what, we're not going to buy from West Virginia anymore. We're going to buy from Australia. That's what happened. 165 jobs, gone. Now, if they passed a bill that actually brought 165 jobs to the state of West Virginia, every single Republican would march out front, there'd be a big ribbon cutting, and we'd stand out there and we'd clap and we'd celebrate, we'd crap, that's what we do. But they won't even show up and answer questions as to why we're losing jobs. Those are just 165 out of 4,000. Have you had one press conference from the GOP standing up and saying, this is why we lost those jobs, we're going to fight tooth and nail to get them back? No, our federal delegation does nothing to stand up to the federal government. That has not happened since the new president took over. Imagine if the former president had lost these jobs. Could you imagine what they would be doing? I mean, Twitter would be on fire, the press conferences every day, and they can't say one thing back. And it's just not that. Look at the public employees losing their jobs throughout the state. And not a single word in response. Not a press release. Not a, hey, I'm going to go have a sit down with the president because he told me West Virginia was his favorite state. No, it's because they obey orders. Kentucky had the federal declaration for emergency before West Virginia did. How does that happen? I thought we were tight. Turns out we're not.
You mentioned that there's been 12 bills that passed so far through both chambers. How much of that do you attribute to the new committee system that's been in effect here in the House side, slowing things down? And how much do you attribute to just, alleged poor governance?
Well, while there's a new committee structure, and arguably it can slow things down, let's not forget they have a supermajority. They can suspend the rules and pass a bill in one single day if they want to. So let's not hide behind the fact there's a slower process. Let's reveal the fact they have no plan to govern. And that's what this is really about. They could pass any bill they want tomorrow, suspend the rules and get it done. They've done it in the past, but they're not doing it now because there's nothing they can shine a light on and say, this is good for West Virginia. What single piece of legislation has reduced your utility bills? None. What single piece of legislation has a fiscal note attached to it saying thousands of jobs are coming to the state? None. They have nothing to show that they're doing anything. I mean, at some point, you got to reveal your work. And I think we've reached a point in West Virginia where actual constituents are looking at this and saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? We asked this simple question when we opened up our weekly meetings here, our press conference, and said, one simple question for all West Virginians. What is the Republican supermajority doing to help you your daily life that you're talking about at night. The bills coming out of here, you're not talking about that. You're concerned with your utility rates. You're concerned with your ability to raise a family here, have steady income, not worried about losing jobs. And if we're losing 4,000 just in January alone, good luck going forward. Last one, forget not to shut the lights off. I mean, this is where we're going with this state.
So we've talked a lot. There was, the People's Public Hearing today for the above ground storage tank bill. A lot of pushing against legislation to protect the systems that we currently have in place as far as regulation. I'm looking at the pictures of water up there. I'm wondering, as a caucus, what bills have been introduced or have you all been discussing to proactively confront these issues, not just, defend against the movements against them?
And so before I have Delegate Hanson to come up, and so he'll answer those. But we're very proud of a bill that we have. It's actually bipartisan. Working on it right now. Going to drop it today. It's been tightening up the language on it. But it's actually to fund the unfunded mandate of the flood resiliency plan. That was put in a while ago. And again, it's been unfunded. We're going to earmark a significant portion of money. We're going to look to take that from the state income tax fund, where there's money just sitting there. We've been able to do the homework on our bond rating, and so we could take some money from the rainy day as well. And we want to make sure that not only for flood mitigation, there's going to be money earmarked in there for water projects, for municipality to be able to go in and get matching dollars in case they can pull something down from the feds. And so again, that's very, very near and dear to our heart, because again, as you pointed out, in 2025, nobody in the state of West Virginia should be living with that. I mean, and again, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. It's about priorities. It is about priorities. Delegate Fluharty just talked about utility rates. Should be number one. Clean drinking water. And unfortunately, the folks down the southern coalfields probably experienced the brunt of this. It's unacceptable, and we're willing to work and have been willing to work across the aisle, but something needs to be done now.
Yeah, we do have an agenda that's related to clean drinking water, clean air, and lower utility bills. One of the pieces of legislation that we're trying to get across the finish line is a resolution, HJR 17, which is a constitutional amendment that will change West Virginia's Bill of Rights. So it's written in our Bill of Rights that citizens have the right to clean drinking water, clean air, and a stable climate. And what this would do is it would level the playing field. We saw what happened in the last couple of weeks where industry lobbyists are able to change up the rules at the last minute after a year-long process. But if we had protections for clean drinking water in our state Bill of Rights, that would help level the playing field so those types of shenanigans don't happen in the future. The minority leader mentioned that the Republican supermajority hasn't done anything related to lower electric rates. And I think it's important to recognize that they've been in control of the state house for a decade now. And over that time period, West Virginia's electric rates have risen faster than any other state in the country under their leadership, or should I say lack of leadership. It's been a series of bad decisions by the legislature and by the Public Service Commission. So the House Democrats have a package of bills to address that. The first is a bill to freeze electric rates where they are right now through 2026, just to allow us to buy some time to get some good policies into place. Secondly, we're the party that actually believes in an all of the above energy strategy, not just fossil fuels, but fossil fuels plus solar and wind and energy efficiency and batteries. We want to see it all. And part of the benefit of that is that if our bills are considered and passed, it's not just going to have environmental benefits, it's going to actually reduce and stabilize electric rates across the state. And then thirdly, related to the Public Service Commission, we have a bill that'll subject the commissioners to the strictest ethical standards. Right now, there's been a little bit of a revolving door with some commissioners that have previously worked for interest groups that may not have the public interest in mind. So this bill defines the public interest and makes sure that the commissioners make decisions in the public interest, not in the interest of any one trade association or electric utility in the state of West Virginia. So those are some things we wanted to highlight today. Today is E-Day at the Capitol. It's Environment Day, and we appreciate that so many people from across all corners of the state came to West Virginia to advocate on these issues related to clean drinking water, clean air, and a stable climate. Before I pass it off, I wanted to mention that this is also Domestic Violence Awareness Day at the Capitol. And one of the issues that I'm concerned about related to domestic violence is the VOCA funding crisis that we have in West Virginia. And VOCA stands for the Victims of Crime Act. It's funded by, it's a federal law that provides funding for state programs to provide services to crime victims. And in West Virginia, that funding's provided to rape crisis centers, child advocacy centers, and others. And the problem is there's less and less money to go around, and there's a huge need in the state of West Virginia. So I would like to see the West Virginia legislature bridge that funding gap, do what 13 other states have done across this country that are facing similar challenges, and bridge that funding gap so that we can provide services to people who are suffering from domestic violence.
In addition to that, a couple of the bills that we've focused on right now, House Bill 3395, House Bill 3396. The first of that is an ACEs screening, right? Adverse Childhood Experiences, making sure that any child that has gone through traumatic experiences, that we are recognizing that when they're young to fight against cancer, to fight against obesity and other diseases that might be out there as it's a precursor to. 3396, that is a pilot mental health program in our schools. It is one that is going to allow for our kids to get referrals for their mental health. But the kicker is it's going to open it up for their parents to be able to receive services too. And if they haven't exhausted that, also community members. So many times that we are having disciplinary measures in the school, but we're not looking at what's going on at home and that environment. And we have to take care of that. Because if a child is happy and healthy, they're going to be more adept to learning. And so that's something that we really care about in our caucus. And in closing, it goes back to priorities. It goes back to priorities. We have been listening to all of you all out there. And we're concerned with kitchen table issues. And that's who we are as a party. Again, whether it's your utility rates, whether it's child care, foster care, whether it is making sure that you have clean drinking water, whether it's looking out for all of our state workers with PEIA. It's just that simple. You know, I'm a coach. I talk about fundamentals. It's blocking and tackling. All these things are out in the weeds that are divisive. This fringe group of Republicans that have hijacked their party, and we can't get good balance, which is what everyone wants at home. Now listen, we're going to drive this baby, but we need common sense policy because what we're doing is not working. And so again, the House Democrat Caucus, we stand ready, as we always have been, to work together to solve these issues of the state. But I am asking my friends across the aisle, stop being weird and grow up. Thank you.